Hello. So one of the questions that Dr. Roberts gave us for this week was, how do the Federalists define a republic? And they would argue that it's actually pretty difficult to define when you look at the world of 1787, because countries were using republic in their name, yet they were inconsistent in how their government worked, and hardly any of them derived any power from the people. And that is what the Federalists and the creators of the Constitution were trying to get at with the Constitution. They are trying to create a republic government that derives all of its power from the people, that the government offices serve at the pleasure of the people for a time limit determined by the people. Also, there will be no titles of nobility, because that would somehow encourage hereditary monarchy and hereditary offices, which you do not have in a republic, because that would take the power out of the hands of the people. And so that's kind of how they define a republic. And in defending that idea of a republic, they argue that the best way to govern a republic is through a constitution. And this constitution has both national and federal aspects, which they spend some time discussing, since many of the anti-federalists, one of their biggest fears is that this government and this constitution is too national. And so they're going to argue that actually it's inherently federal, because the states are going to each have to vote on it. And then throughout the Constitution itself, there are both national and federal parts. Wherever it is necessary to be national, it will be national. Wherever it is necessary to be federal, it will be federal. And so that's kind of what was outlined in many of our readings this week. And one aspect of this Constitution that they have created is the ability of the government to raise an army. Now, this ability is given to them by the people, but it is now a power of the national government once you give it to them. And the Anti-Federalists have a big problem with this. And I think, to be honest, this is one of their biggest problems, yet one of their weakest arguments. At one point, the Anti-Federalists argue that if you keep and maintain a happy and thriving country, then there's no need for the national government to worry itself about national defense, because men will bear arms for a country that is happy and thriving. And to me, that's just completely illogical. It goes against human nature. Human nature, we do not always choose the honorable thing in human nature, as well as human experience. We have experienced under the Articles of Confederation that men don't always come to arms, that if there's no money to be paid to die for your country, that not many men will do it. Doesn't matter if it's an Indian uprising or a foreign country coming in, we don't always pick the honorable thing. And so both experience and human nature tell us that that is false. In addition, since when, according to Anti-Federalists, is it the government's job to maintain a happy and thriving country, especially a national government? You don't give it very many powers if you're an Anti-Federalist. So I found this logic very circular and not very convincing, that it's the government's job to maintain a happy country, and those happy men will come to arms, and that's what you have to bank on. No, thank you. Personally, I will not be happy if I feel endangered and insecure in my own country. Another just argument that they bring up is that they say that the military is working fine under the Articles of Confederation, and that they would actually be okay with a standing army if it was checked by the same checks that the Articles of Confederation provide. And I just thought that was silly. We know that the military and the idea of the military under the Articles of Confederation is not working. So why would you want to implement it in this new government? I mean, if anything, we know military is not working under the Articles of Confederation. Now, with that said, there are two arguments that the Anti-Federalists make in regards to raising an army, which I need to acknowledge because they are important and they are positive. The first is it is very unnerving that the ability to declare war, maintain the army, and pay for the army, levy taxes, is all given to one branch of government. That does not seem like a fair balance and doesn't seem like a checked power. I realize that expediency is very important and necessary in a time of war, but I don't know if we would be willing to sacrifice some of the consequences for expediency, and consequences being corruption and things like that. So that's one argument that I think needed to be addressed. It was a very good argument. Another argument was that the um, sorry, I lost my thought for a moment. That, and this is an argument that has been stated throughout the book, that once you give up power, it's very difficult to get it back. And so once you give the national government the ability to raise an army, you will never get that power back. And I find that true. Even today, I think of things like the Patriot Act, where we've given the government this ability to intrude on our privacy, and we are never going to get that privacy back. It's now become a daily necessity in terms of defense, and I don't ever see them repealing it. Even somebody who was very against it, who is now president, um, repassed it, and it was it was renewed. There's the word, renewed in 2010, and so I think that to be very true, and so I think it is something to ponder. So I guess in closing, the questions that I would present to you are: one, do you agree with my analysis of the anti-federalist arguments against a standing army? Did you think that they were adequate, or did you find fault in them as well? And also, did you find any other definitions of a republic that are worth noting? I hope you're having a good night, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.